Right. I've done a metric shit ton of videos on the UFO Alert. You can watch them all on our YouTube channel. So I haven't really put together another video of me throwing it because, well, there's lots of them. And speaking of that, check out the latest bracket challenge. The UFO Alert is going up against the X1. So there may or may not be a pretty exciting finish to that one. So check that one out. But here's Chris. You were throwing it over at the ITRC. What layout did you go with this one?
Both the UFO Alert and the Dark Code. I went the lower pin layout, and a lot of it has to do with filling out what I have on the regular tour. A lot of really higher pin balls in there with phase 2 and Zens and those kind of things. And so I wanted some balls that complementary. I wasn't sure if both of these balls would make the bag, but I was hoping that one of them, you know, would fit the category. And this is the Alert here, huh?
Yeah, this is the Alert. You're still balling on that Masters pattern.
Yeah, and it's feed up too. And so anybody's bowled the ITRC, this place is a little tricky. This wasn't the easiest of patterns to bowl on for this light volume, 25 mils. This ball really pleasantly surprised me. It gets through the front. It rolls pretty good in the middle, but it actually it continues well. Like there, I move to the right, get a little flatter behind it, and it doesn't bog down or go forward. It still just smoothed out the reaction and let me move 4 or 5 right.
Yeah, let's just.
You know, I don't know, because a lot of times big ASIM balls, when I drill them high and get cleaner covers like that, the covers and the cores fight each other some. So I try and keep them a little lower.
Yeah, I think you've been having quite a bit of success with these kind of lower pinned, kind of kicking the mass out quite a bit layouts. I know that you'd like the UC2. For you, if you were, I know that you didn't necessarily have it with you, but where in your mind would you say this Alert is off, say, a UC2?
It's stronger than the UC2 for me. It's a little stronger in the mid lane. I think the cover itself is probably a touch stronger overall. I thought that was pretty funny. Alan Riley said, "What is a metric shit ton exactly?"
Well, go over to the YouTube channel and count up.
With British rubbish. For me, I think it's a little stronger than that. The UC2, I felt like I had to break the surface a little bit to get it to pick up. I don't know that I'm going to have to break the surface on this one to get it to pick up. For better or worse, I felt like it picked up a little bit more on its own in the mid lane that way.
Yeah, I was talking to you a little bit about it. I feel like that could be a really good option for you in Lubbock with that lower pin, something you can keep in front of you a little bit. I'm probably going to drill one as well. The one that I drilled, we've spoke about a little bit, where I didn't realize it was a hybrid because I'm a moron. And I thought, man, I've got to gap this out between the UC2, thinking it was the same cover. Why I would think that Schlem would release 2 balls in a row with the same cover, I'm not really sure, but you know,
not historically.
No,
never been the plan. Pretty good about spacing those things out. I think, you know, I used Axiom Pearl in Lubbock last time on that senior stuff, which is a little lighter volume and a little shorter pattern than what we're going to bowl on. And I see this being a little bit stronger version of, you know, a little bit stronger than the Axiom Pearl as far as back end on that end of it. So
Brian says 1 metric shit ton equals 2.5 standard shit tons. Just so. Keith says Stu Beef and Hall of Fame Barnes. I guess that's fair. Thanks for these stars, Casey. Good morning, Clint. Let's see what this question says. It starts with good morning, y'all. So he's probably one of our people, Chris.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering about something. I had rotator surgery. I'm now going through physical therapy. Do either one of you know a bowl that has gone through this, and have they fully recovered to be able to bowl as before?
Well,
Steel Smith, maybe?
Steel Smith, he had torn labrum. I don't know if it's rotator cuff or not. Linda's had a torn labrum inner shoulder. There's been several bowlers that have had torn labrums. I would assume after the years and years and years of pitching that Burkett has had some at least shoulder
issues.
Yes. And so, and he's, you know, he's bowled fantastic. I think because it's underhand, the chances of recovery and bowling at a relatively high level is pretty good. I think Timmy had rotator cuff.
Yeah, surgery. Maybe.
And then
it's hard to keep up with all the surgeries.
The biggest change is range of motion. And so Timmy and Steelsmith were basically vertical to the lane. And so they had to lower their backswing a little bit. But if your swing is not that high and is relatively head high, I think you can perform at a very high level once you get through your physical therapy.
One thing that I have known with people who've had a bit of shoulder issues is that they've dropped from 15 to 14, and that's actually helped them quite a bit. So I'm not necessarily sitting here with my 16-pound balls advocating for using lighter weight bowling balls, but I do know that with the way the balls are right now and everything else, that a lot of people don't notice that much difference when they drop down, because they can hit it a little bit harder and, you know, they create a little bit more angle anyway. I think the one negative that really of going to 14 is that the balls are a lot higher RG in 14, just because the weight block can't, you know, just right. Because. So
as you go down in weight, I think as long as you have back end, the differences are fairly minimal. The only time it gets tricky is when they get tight. So.
Steve Berry said, I had it done and fully recovered to my mediocre performance, same as I was before surgery. Adam says, good morning to me and you. So,
my USBC teammate, Kevin Denny. There was a match in Oklahoma. I saw that. I believe it was John Burkett and CJ and Clint. I believe they let us know who everybody was that bowled. I was on vacation, so I didn't really read it, but I did see that you guys clipped him and beat him in a 4-game match. Had a monster first game, and we're up by 100 early, and then it got tough. It got close for a little while, and then you gapped out again at the end.
Michael Todd, who might be one of the larger gentlemen who bowls, certainly got a bicep on him, that's for sure, says, I had full rotator cuff recovery repair 7 years ago and still throw 16. I'm not sure that Michael would be the person that I would model my recovery off. He has biceps like most people's legs. But yeah, that's good to know. Hey, Charlie, how are we doing? Thanks again. Right, let's move on quickly to Dark Code.
Yeah, CJ Clint Burkett against Trey Ford, Derry Weigel, and Jeff Hatt. And that's
okay. So it's a trios match.
Yeah. This was Dark Code. Very nice job of getting that involved, but that's pin right below the bridge as well.
So that's about what, a 5-inch pin for you?
Touch over 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll see this is where I struggle a little bit, and this is a personal thing for me, because every review I've seen, this ball is super clean and it is giant. You know, makes a monster move down lane.
Yeah, and it didn't move you.
That it's more like a kind of a UC2 kind of thing, maybe even a little cleaner and stronger, depending on the review. For me, this ball gets going forward a little bit. And I'm going to be the anomaly in this whole deal.
Yeah. But certainly doesn't go forward for Ryan.
No. When he throws it, it goes flipping sideways. But sometimes when I get in these really clean covers with the big cores, the cores take over a little bit for me, and they end up being a little bit smoother and really not. Then it's okay. But if I put it up against the UFO Alert for me, the UFO Alert for me is considerably
and,
better.
and that's the thing. Like, you've got those two balls have ended up, you've put kind of similar layouts on them, and you're just not going to need both, is basically what you're saying.
What I'm saying, and because I've built around kind of some things that I like, I have a reality already. I have a Zen, I have a phase two, and I have some of these balls already in these categories.
Not used to seeing you hooking it the entire lane, Chris.
I understand. And if you're under 30, you may not have ever seen me do it. So, but the first 35 years, I made all of my money. Once upon a time, I was on the Tommy plan where I made all my money left of third arrow. And then as I got older, I moved over to the other side of the lane. So
yeah, definitely.
You have to take advantage of your, as Stu's favorite saying of mine is taking advantage of your unfair advantages.
Yeah, use those unfair advantages.
Once upon a time, it was more rev rate than everybody else in playing the left gutter cap, and now it's the ability to play to the right is where my advantages lie relative to a lot of the field. So,
hi Kenny, how are you doing? Hope you're feeling well. One of the PBA super fans.
Yeah,
Walter Ray still better than Pete Weber.
Stephen Hogg, straight or straighter. You know who says that? People who can't hook it.
Yeah. So for me personally, dark code is pretty angular for me. I kind of see it the same way as Ryan does. I did drill mine pretty weak because I've had experience of that core in the past, and I found that to me the best way to do it was to try and make the core a little bit weaker so I could take advantage of the cover. So that's what I did.
Yeah,
me, it's
if I had low. I would drill it weaker for sure.
Yeah, I have it off my UC2 because I use my UC2 with just a hair of surface, and when that one starts to get a little bit lazy down the lane, I can go into the dark code, and it definitely comes off it harder. For my wife, she actually sees the dark code as being more angular and maybe a touch stronger than her UC2. She finds it much easier for her to take the step left and kind of move left of the track and kind of bounce the track with the dark code. So for people with slower speeds, kind of a little bit lower rev rate, I think the dark code is going to be a really good option for that because it becomes quite a strong ball, but it's a ball that you can really make hook.
Yeah. I think more axis rotation may be even more the key there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that's basically what makes mine go a little bit more forward. And generally speaking, because it's such a big core in a lot of asymmetry, that more axis rotation, if you can get it down the lane a little bit and basically keep going a little bit, that is a monster ball.